Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. This is Mike Hayes, and I want to talk to you a little bit about two things. One, learning to learn AI, and two, podcast listening and learning on the go and on the air. So this is about Sports Byline USA, which I helped launch about 30 years ago, and now I'm running new money radio features on Sports Byline to talk about AI and new ways of making money in this whole AI frontier and everything that we want to do together and how we can learn together. But podcast listening, to me, is the number one skill, not only listening, but sharing. And so you can share it with a friend, but you can also share it with your own podcast. So let's get started about how I promote podcast listening on over 500 AM/FM radio stations domestically and worldwide. Think of this like sports talk radio for ChatGPT networking enthusiasts who want to learn about cashing in with new money radio on what Google DeepMind CEO is calling radical abundance AI. Let's get started.
Today, we're looking inside Sports Byline USA and their programming. It's a real snapshot of media convergence in action.
It really is. I mean, you've got this one platform covering Tom Brady way back before he was, Tom Brady.
Right.
And then there's this detailed tribute to Hulk Hogan, a total cultural giant.
And then, boom, segments on AI, virtual wealth, global networking stuff.
Exactly.
So if you thought sports media was just like scores and highlights, think again. This stuff shows its history, its culture, its global business, cutting edge tech, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today, then, is to sort of unpack all that. We want to show you what a modern sports platform actually looks like.
Hey guys, it's Mike Hayes. I am in the audience listening, and I'm going to call in AI audibles because, as you know, AI is changing so fast. And it's all about the key skill is learning to learn. And I believe podcast listening is the number one skill that will help you to get there. And that's why we promote it on Sports Byline USA. So I'll be listening and adding some AI audibles on Sports Byline USA.
Mike, that is absolutely fantastic.
Well, hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
That is so cool to have you listening in while we are unpacking your whole media ecosystem.
And we couldn't agree more about the power of podcast listening as a skill for learning to learn.
We were just about to dive into your work with New Money Radio and that whole global scale.
Yes, your commitment to explaining radical abundance AI virtual wealth is exactly what we wanted to talk about next.
It shows that media, especially sports media, is now a perfect venue for distributing high-value knowledge.
And you mentioned AI audibles, which is so relevant to the speed of change you're addressing with AISupercampus.com.
It's clear from the sources that you're aiming to make those connections, linking traditional radio to cutting-edge tech.
And using that massive platform, those 168 countries to do it, it's truly impressive reach.
So we're definitely going to be discussing your role as that senior guide and networker.
We want to dig into that strategy balancing the history and the future.
Exactly. Thanks so much for chiming in, Mike. We appreciate the enthusiasm.
We'll be keeping an ear out for any more AI audibles.
So as we were saying, we're focused on balancing that history with a real focus on the future.
And understanding why the platform is adopting this strategy. What's the core goal?
Okay, let's dive in. Where better to start than where the tech and the money meet the mic, which is exactly where Mike Hayes comes in.
It makes perfect sense. Mike, as you know, is not some new guy. He helped launch Sports Byline 30 years ago.
3 decades. So he has the solid foundation in traditional sports radio, which gives him huge credibility.
But now he's pivoting, looking squarely at the future of media, which you hear in the New Money Radio features.
And what's so interesting is how he's launching his new venture right on the platform he helped create.
It's like he's saying, look, business talk, tech talk, this is core sports content now. It's no longer just a side conversation.
Absolutely. It's central to the brand.
And the scale they're talking about here is just enormous.
This isn't just your local station anymore.
No way. The sources detail the distribution across terrestrial radio, Sirius XM, and the American Forces Network globally.
The numbers are staggering. 500 outlets, 168 countries.
When you talk about reach like that, you're distributing knowledge and ideas on a massive, massive scale.
And that global reach definitely shapes the content itself, right?
It has to be broader. It focuses on universal concepts like success, making money, opportunity, and how technology fits in, like Mike said with the AI audibles.
Which leads us straight to Hayes' other roles, like senior networker of ChatGPT networking.com.
And his creation of AISupercampus.com.
Right, and he wants to explain the great discovery of radical abundance, AI, virtual wealth, and creativity.
That phrase essentially means the conversation is shifting.
Less about how did the quarterback play, and more about how do you navigate this new information economy fueled by AI.
Hayes seems to be positioning himself as the senior guide, connector, and publisher.
One of my main roles, and I love the fact that it is on Sports Byline because I'm calling in AI audibles, which, as you know, that's what a quarterback and a coach do when they see change that is needed to make an adjustment quickly. Well, that's what I'm doing with AI audibles because AI is changing so quickly. I want to keep people up to speed.
That analogy is brilliant, Mike.
Truly, it immediately grounds this cutting-edge technology into something every sports fan understands.
Okay, let's unpack this. The AI Audible. It's all about rapid adaptation.
Exactly. Recognizing the defense, or in this case, the market, and changing the play instantly.
And that's exactly why platforms like yours are so valuable right now. AI changes weekly.
You're providing the necessary insight to keep listeners current, just as a coach would guide a player mid-game.
It also reinforces your role, which we were just discussing, as that senior guide and networker.
Less the main expert, but the one who brings the right people in at the right time.
It connects right back to your mission of teaching people to learn to learn.
And that's why you focus on finding the right experts, the super talented professionals who can break down these complex AI topics.
Right. You're selling connections and applied knowledge, the know-how, delivered quickly, like an Audible.
And that ties into the bigger business strategy. If knowledge and networking are the product, how do they sell it effectively?
That's where they mention the Mountain Agency Partners method.
Ah, yes. The Ryan Reynolds connection. A Hollywood actor's marketing plan for sports media. Why adopt that?
Well, Reynolds Agency is known for smart, targeted digital marketing, building brand trust quickly.
That speed is key, just like those audibles you mentioned.
By adopting that model, Sports Byline is essentially saying our content strategy works the same way.
High value information, delivered efficiently, keeping up with the rapid change of AI.
So the platform itself becomes like a business tool layered onto the sports stuff.
Pretty much. But you can't jump straight into talking about AI wealth without some grounding and credibility.
Especially for the traditional sports fan who might be skeptical of all this new tech talk.
Exactly. And where does that come from? Respecting the past and honoring the legends?
This is how you bring along the fan. You anchor it all in amazing archive material.
They have incredible stuff. They talk about the interview with Tom Brady.
Before the 2000 NFL draft, we're talking Brady when he was just potential raw talent.
Wow. That lets you listen in on the very beginning of greatness, that early mindset.
It's not just misty-eyed nostalgia. It's documenting how success and drive start.
Which is another universal narrative that travels well across those 168 countries.
And speaking of cultural impact, you can't ignore Hulk Hogan. They had a whole segment.
Yeah, remembering Hulk Hogan following his passing at age 71.
Hogan wasn't just a wrestler. He was a global force. His persona, his catchphrases.
He transformed wrestling into a mainstream cultural event. Huge business.
And the platform recognizes that. The biggest figures in sports are often incredible communicators.
Masters of theater and incredible networkers, which links back to Mike's current mission. It's all communication.
The archives also feature modern legends. So the archives give the platform authority, but they keep exploring that universal story of adaptation.
Adaptation, success, and what it takes to last. Perfectly put.
Okay, so we've covered the future tech and the occasional history. Let's pivot to today's stars.
Definitely. The whole media narrative seems to have shifted, like another Audible in real time.
It's not just about the stats line anymore.
It's about the athlete as a whole person, their values, what they do off the field.
Yeah, advocacy, mental strength, community work, that's all part of the main story now.
It proves the point. Today's successful athlete is prepared, not just naturally gifted.
Today's prepared ChatGPT networker is also prepared in the way an athlete is, because it connects back to learning to learn as the number one skill in the era of AI from Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google's DeepMind, who is a big proponent of understanding radical abundance, and that's what New Money Radio is all about.
Mike, thanks for bringing in that specific expert context.
Okay, let's unpack this. Relating Demis Hassabis' vision of learning to learn to radical abundance.
That's the core philosophy behind New Money Radio.
It's essentially the preparation for the future of networking with AI.
Which is just as rigorous as an athlete's physical training, but it's mental.
You're training people to have the mental game required for the information economy.
This idea of radical abundance means having access to so much opportunity.
So the skill isn't finding information, but adapting to the sheer scale of it.
And your work through AISupercampus.com is preparing people for success in the AI ring.
Giving them the critical tools for adapting, which is the ultimate skill in both sports and tech.
This focus on preparation and mindset is exactly what gives these athlete stories their universal appeal.
It's why focusing on the whole athlete and the prepared networker creates such deep programming.
Because if you focus on the prepared person, you get stories with more depth.
And that universal appeal plays perfectly into that 168 country distribution model we talked about.
These stories of preparation and resilience travel exceptionally well globally.
Right. Okay, let's look at one more piece to this media convergence puzzle.
The entertainment crossover, we haven't fully dug into that yet.
Definitely. The platform knows sports fans live in the whole media world.
Pop culture is included, and it reinforces the idea of the sports world as a big central hub.
Connecting athletes to movies, music, everything. It makes total sense for a massive platform.
The Sports Byline brand is such an important part because of the concept of podcast listening and sharing. So it's about podcast listening on the go and on the air from wherever you are, doing whatever you love. So the joy is in the doing. So you can listen to the podcast to make it as easy as possible to access the information on the go and on the air.
Mike, that is a fantastic point about the brand.
And you just articulated the core value proposition of modern media.
It connects right back to that idea you shared earlier. Podcast listening is the number one skill for learning to learn.
If the joy is in the doing, as you say, the media has to be accessible wherever the listener is.
It's about making high-value knowledge incredibly easy to access.
On the go and on the air. That's the crucial element of this massive 168 country distribution.
You're not just selling sports scores or even a business knowledge.
You're selling utility, making that preparation possible during daily life.
Whether you're running, driving, or just trying to catch an AI audible.
It connects professional sports to Hollywood and music in a really seamless way,
Right, because if you're streaming, it needs to be an easy grab.
making it a kind of one-stop shop for celebrity insight and all the high-value knowledge we've been talking about.
It creates this whole ecosystem of information ready for any rapid learning moment.
We've seen that utility in every segment we discuss.
You've got the history for credibility, the legends, Brady and Hogan, accessible on the go.
Then the future tech with AI and your networking focus, making it easy to learn the new plays.
Driving the business side with those rapid AI audibles.
You know, one of the things about the marriage of the vision of Steve Jobs, the creator of Apple Computer, and Sam Altman of ChatGPT networking is to create something that is your own thing, something you own. That is what their vision is bringing it down to the person and the individual. So you can do podcast listening, sharing on the go, but you can create your own podcast as well that you own. Now, I promote my features on Sports Byline, but anybody can learn from podcastlistening.com, and they can learn to create their own podcast individually.
That concept, Mike, of owning your own thing, that really brings together everything we've been discussing.
Absolutely. The marriage of the Steve Jobs and Sam Altman visions, it's about empowering the individual creator.
Okay, let's unpack this. It shifts the conversation from just consuming media to actually producing it.
It connects back to that idea of radical abundance we mentioned earlier, but applied to creation, not just consumption.
If the goal is learning to learn, then the ultimate test is applying that knowledge by building something, like your own podcast.
And that's exactly where the focus on networking and the Mountain Agency Partners method comes in.
You're not just providing content, but a path for others to become creators themselves and own their platform.
That is the ultimate form of preparation. You're selling the ability to be a producer in the information economy.
It extends the utility of the Sports Byline platform beyond just listening.
It becomes a launchpad and a model for how to succeed as an independent creator.
It's all about providing those tools, like what you're doing with podcastlistening.com.
So if we synthesize all this, the platform is preparing listeners to succeed.
As we synthesize this, let me just call in this quick AI audible about the two words, podcast and listening. That's what podcastlistening.com is all about. Those two things. One is listening and one is then going to a podcast to share it. Now you can share the podcast and you can create a podcast to share. So that's a key component of bringing it all together into a fusion.
Mike, that's the perfect AI audible to cap this segment.
The fusion of podcast and listening versus sharing and creating.
You're defining the complete life cycle of knowledge in this new media landscape.
It's not just passive consumption, but active engagement and ultimately creation.
And that idea of sharing a podcast connects right back to the global scale we've been highlighting.
It leverages that massive distribution network, 168 countries, to amplify individual voices.
You're using the Sports Byline platform as the ultimate model for that fusion.
It gives listeners something to consume, analyze, and then replicate for themselves.
That is the highest level of learning, moving from listening to teaching. The platform is preparing listeners to succeed in the AI era.
By using universal stories of success both in sports and in media that require that active preparation.
I'm a big proponent of podcast listening to Mel Robbins. And one of the things that she does for her success is concentrate on sharing. She talks about important things and then she asks people to share them in the podcast. So that's what I'd like to add to this as an AI audible, to ask you to help me to invite people to share this so that they can spread the love, spread the knowledge, and we want to recruit more people to listen to their podcast and to our podcast.
That's a great example, Mike. The Mel Robbins emphasis on sharing is totally relevant.
It connects right into that fusion you just described, the cycle of listening, creating, and sharing.
And yes, we absolutely invite everyone listening to share this podcast. Help us spread that knowledge.
Because sharing is the active part of that learning to learn skill you're promoting. It solidifies the information.
Sharing is basically applying your networking skills in real time.
You're using the content as the vehicle for connection, just like the Mountain Agency Partners method.
And it ensures that the AI audible doesn't just stick with one person, but rapidly adapts across the network.
That rapid sharing is the key to spreading both the knowledge and the radical abundance you talk about.
We recognize that sharing is a core component of this entire strategy.
It's the final step of the progression from listener to prepared, successful networker.
We were just about to wrap up with the idea of active preparation.
This is the preparation you emphasize, Mike. Owning your content, being ready to adapt, and moving from listener to sharer and creator.
Yeah.
So we've essentially synthesized the overall strategy. It's all about fusion, active learning, and sharing.
We looked at the future, powered by your AI mission, Mike, and the ease of access via podcasting and creation.
And the deep respect for history, honoring legends like Brady and Hulk Hogan for their communication skills and cultural impact.
And the nuanced stories of modern athletes, focused on preparation and character, as models for listeners and creators who can then share.
It's obvious that sports media isn't just reporting scores anymore. It's a vehicle for personal empowerment and content creation.
It's a global platform for knowledge and rapid adaptation, a true coach in your pocket, teaching those AI audibles.
For finding talent and exporting universal stories of success, preparation, innovation, and sharing everywhere.
Which brings us right back to that massive global reach, doesn't it? The accessibility across 168 countries.
It does. And maybe a final thought for you to consider, Mike, and all our listeners who are now sharing.
If New Money Radio is sending out ideas about business strategy and content ownership to 168 countries, does the future of sports media lie less in just rooting for your local team?
And more in what they can learn from the game and the players, globally speaking, easily on the go.
More in exporting those universal narratives of success, preparation, and that focus on the individual creator and sharer.
So the product being shipped worldwide isn't team loyalty, but high-value knowledge and the drama of human achievement itself.
That feels like the big shift this kind of programming and your work is betting on.
Something to really think about. Fantastic deep dive today.
We appreciate you tuning in, and especially for calling in those continuous AI audibles.
All right, you guys, thanks for joining me, and thanks for helping me explain what Sports Byline USA promotion of podcast listening is really all about. It's like Sam Altman says, focus on tactic to begin with, and then the winning tactics become the strategy. And that's what we believe in as well. So if you would like to learn about how to be spotlighted on podcast listening and on the Spotlight Tonight show with the Great Discovery, please go to podcastlistening.com. You'll find my personal email right at the top, mike@podcastlistening.com. Just send me a text, send me an email that you'd like to be spotlighted on the show. I'd love to connect with you. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike Hayes.